Like I don't know what it is about this place, because both the public and the private schools overperform here, and like ETHA, like
So
their
are they
version.
smart? There's a lot of smart people here then.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
like,
That's
and
what it
their-
is.
and, like, and
These
their
smart people are
version-
come from here.
And their version of like MIT, it's a school called ETHA. You
Yeah.
know, it is their version of MIT. It is like the kind of the premier math and science university here. Usually, like in any given year, like a minimum of about 20%, and but in the normal year, as much as 50 to 60% of the students that win the places there from those public contests, they all come from Sierra. Like it's crazy.
Wow, I didn't know that. This is some good information to know. Wow.
It's a secret that I don't understand
Smart
it.
people, the smart people in the state. That's what it is.
And at this
Or work harder. Just work harder for what they want.
I don't know what it is. They have some sort of
Edge on
methodology here that they're not employing in the rest of the country. And at this point, like especially at those private universities here, Farias Brito, they're called Farias Brito and Arijisa. Those are the two most famous ones. You got people from like Sao Paulo now starting to send their kids to
here.
to go to these schools. So I don't know what it is with their methodology here, you know, but like these are some of the most educated, whether they are rich or poor, literally the most educated people in the country.
Oh, Brazil.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
What is the cost of living here in Fortaleza? How much, like, what is it, income? Minimum wage? How much do the average person in Fortaleza make?
The minimum salary here, the income would be something around.
He said the econ. This guy's smart. I thought he said the econ.
1,200 about that.
Yeah, 1,200, but in our currency here, call it real, right?
Okay.
Yes.
But how
much is
would
that
be
in euro? 1,000?
dollars? I would-
About like $250 to $300.
Yeah.
That's it. Wow.
Yeah, so it's really cheap, I would say, for you that comes from abroad, you know. But I would say, of course, this part of here of the city, the beach area, are the most expensive part of the city for you
These
to live.
people here,
Yeah.
are making anywhere from 10 to 50 grand per month on average.
10 to 50 grand a month.
Yes.
That's-
Real.
Yes.
So
In our
that's-
currency, they are doing about 10 to 50 grand per month for them to live here. You can find several apartments here, flats here that cost, around 1 million to 10 million reais in our currency here.
And have you noticed that, like here, these apartments, these are apartments that are, they're as big as houses and they take up the entire floor. These are all apartments where it's one apartment per floor.
Wow.
Once that you go to the elevator, as soon as you get to the floor that you wanted to, you're going to, just drop in the middle of the apartment because the elevator is only to you.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Exclusive. So very
Yeah,
exclusive.
it's really exclusive. Yeah.
Where did you learn English at? I know they want to know where you learn English at.
Okay.
The English is good.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're articulate, well spoken, like English.
Yeah, I learned it by myself. I studied
Wow.
by myself. I could not, afford to pay a
tutor.
a language or a language
teacher.
course or
Yeah.
a tutor to teach me. So it was one of the things that I had as a purpose to learn in my time at the university, because I would love to go abroad and to study something such as a master, which I did.
Okay.
And it was in English too. So
wow.
that's how I was so inspired by professors and other people that comes from the US, from Europe, that comes here to participate in our conferences about, academic stuff, articles, papers, everything about that, about this university environment. So I was always inspired to learn with these people and to, try to be someone international, someone that could be considered like a global citizen with a speech, because everyone can be today
Yes.
a global citizen, but you have to know how to speak, and English is the most used language in the whole world.
Now explain how the schools work, because he got one of the places in the free university But explain how schools work here and the disparity between like the rich and the poor with the schools.
Yeah, the
Explain that for us.
Yeah, I studied at a public school here, and at the public school, for example, yeah, the public university, yeah. So in the public university, you have some quotes. We call it quotas here.
Affirmative action. Is
Yes.
there affirmative
So
action?
what do they call it again? Quotas?
Quotas.
Quotas or quotas?
Quotas.
Yes.
Oh, quote, that sounds bad.
Yeah,
Quotas,
so-
like we
This,
just doing it because.
Yeah, this is a public policy that we have here in Brazil, and this year, these public policies achieving 10 years of existence, and I was one of the young people here that could be assisted by this public policy that can provide you the opportunity to go to the university just because you are black, or just
Okay.
because you come from a public school. So we have several challenges here to try to put public and private schools at the same top of level. So,
Oh.
because this huge difference was one of the basis of the inequality that we have here in Brazil.
Explain to them the difference, because this is very different for them.
Yeah,
For-
so at the private school, for example, you can be there for the whole day,
Okay.
preparing yourself to become a student at the university. You have the best teachers, the best options, the best circumstances for you to be one of the top mates that going to join the university.
It can cost like 2,000 per student here. At the
2,000,
private,
2,000.
2,000 reais per
2,000
student.
AIs a student.
For them, and these private school students are still they're the public school students are they have to compete against the private school students to try to get a space, one of those free university spaces, and it's ridiculous. It's not
insanity.
fair.
Insanity.
And
wow.
the rich people think the rich people, just like in the U.S., the rich people believe that it's totally normal for the poor people to have to work 10 times harder, and they believe that they have merit. You know that they're not.
Yeah.
It's not just money. They really believe that it's merit that gets them to those universities, but it's money, because it's like the difference in lifestyles is insane. Like a poor person, you know, they may have to, you know, they may have to start working when they're like 9 or 10 years old, you know, to help sustain the family, you know. They may have to do a lot of things, and then, you know, if they're in a public school, they're just not getting what these private school kids are getting. It's insane what the private school kids are getting, you know. And yeah, like a lot of the rich people think that, yeah, they just need to work harder, you know, like that they just need to do better, things like that, you know.
Wow,
but in the private schools, like the entire private school system that they're paying, like at least, you know, 2,000, 1,500, 2,000 reais to go to, like the entire thing is geared towards them being able to compete on those exams, because they have an exam kind of like the SAT or ACT that they use to compete for the spaces, you know, and the top spaces get it. Now, one thing that I do like about here, though, is that there is I don't know if it's a law or if it's like a social contract type of thing, but like if like a person works at a private school or does anything at a private school, like teaches, works, whatever, all of their children have the right to go to that private school for free. So, you know, like if it's a cleaner, you know, if you're maybe a poor person and you want your kids to go to a good school, you might really try to get a job as a cleaner or as a cook or something like
At
that
that
at a private school. No, at a private high school. Private high school.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
High school, okay.
And your children can go to that private high school and, you know, get all of the benefits. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Just another key fact about this circumstance that we have here is the fact that at the private school you can have at least sometimes 4 hours of classes or activities for you to learn English, for example.
yeah.
At the public school, you only have 50 minutes per week for you to learn how to speak or how to know something about English.
Wow.
That's not, you know,
not much at all.
no one can learn a language beyond English, for example,
Wow.
with this tiny amount of minutes of classes to learn it. And the public school, it is a place with several inequalities I was explaining, and the private school is today a really big system here in Brazil, which considers that the people from the public school can, you know, as Vonetta told us, they can really try 10 or sometimes 20 times harder than the people that comes from the private school so they can reach the university. So here we have some standards for you, some grades that you have to achieve to access the public university here, which are the best in Brazil, the public universities.
Okay.
And the people from the private school, they have a whole system constructed to you to become the first person to enter in a course such as medicine, law, or engineering, for example.
Yeah.
So they are really orientated to become the people that are going to enter the public university. And the people that come from the public school did not have sometimes a chance to enter to these universities because they do not have the same investment as the private sector. And this is something really huge in our society, especially because the same people that lives here, for example, paying at least 10 or 50 grand to live here, they are the same people that are trying to make the system always like that. So the people that are going to enter at the public school are the children of these, you know, these ladies and guys that lives here
In these places right here.
places.
Wow.
So it was really common for me to find in my class, for example, people that were like fighting all the time because they could not have enough places to park their cars because their fathers and mothers, the parents, you know, they gave them cars just because they could have an approval to enter to the public university.
And here, to contextualize that, here cars are like ridiculously expensive. So because for Americans it's normal to have a car, but imagine if our cars cost like 50 to 100 grand, you know.
Wow.
All of them, even the used cars, you know, like probably we wouldn't be, you know, giving these cars to kids as much as we do now. Sorry, I'm a little bit tipsy. I'm feeling a little bit pretty.
No, I understand.
So while we, people that come from the public school, while we are trying to fight to have, you know, some more investment to the public university or more recognizing by the government or the society that people that come from the public school, you can find there several talents, several, you know, top students that only needs a chance to enter at the public university and show to everyone their potential. We have to do that all the time, and while we do that, we can see these people, these rich white people here from this part of the city fighting because they cannot park their cars at the public.
Something basic like
So
that.
this is really something common university. So these are kind of the challenges that we have here. So if you start to your education here at the public school, you're going to find several, you know, challenges all the time because the public school cannot offer you, for example, enough food, enough good professors, or you know, sometimes the classes are so crowded that one professor is not enough to handle the
workload
huge amount of
students.
students that we have. And if you have conditions here, and you know, it's really basic for you to come here and do a really simple research, you know, here about question: who are you? What do you consider yourself with your color? Do you think that your race is white or, you know, indigenous or black? Everyone here will say, oh, I'm white. I am descended from Europeans,
Yeah.
and I am really proud because my eyes are blue, and my skin is white. So for them, they are like the stars to have a really nice job, to have the best opportunities here. So this perpetuates in the families all the time. So we're fighting for this to change the system.
Okay.
Since Brazil was a colony from Portugal, for example.
Yes.
So this is a really, really huge challenge for us to change because, as you can see, these have several disturbances, several consequences in the society, and I'm only explaining about the public and private schools here.
I understand.
An interesting thing, though, one of the most fascinating things, because Americans are real competitive, right?
Super competitive.
One of the most fascinating things here is that, okay, so the Cearense people are way overrepresented, in these public contests, like for testing and I don't know, like anything where you have to compete for these public jobs. Public jobs here is not quite the same as what we think of in America as a good job. The public jobs here, can you explain what a public job here looks like?
Yeah, the public job here are the dream of every professional or officer here in Brazil. So once that you got off from the university, your dream, if you want really good money and easy money, because you do not have to work too much as people that works here at the private sector, you have to do an exam to become a public employee. And you can, here you can receive at least, for example, sometimes 30 grand from a public job here.
Okay.
So this is really a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
And people here, most of them, the profile of the people that are today in the public employee, they are white, they are, my father was an European.
Yeah.
My grandma she came from Italy or something. So these are the kind of people that you're going to find in these public places, these public jobs that I'm talking to.
Okay.
I made a internship at the Court of Justice here in my state. And just for you to know, I was in the whole floor. I was one of the 2 black guys in the whole floor of at least 100 public employees that we had here. Yes. So I was one of the 2 black guys that we had that in this floor that you could find at least 100 public employees. So this is another picture for you to imagine how great it is, this disaster that we call inequality here in Brazil.
But it's crazy though, because here, Ceará, I don't know what they do here. I don't know what's in the water here, but the people here in both the public schools, the public high schools, and in the private high schools, Ceará is known. They are well known for getting for being able to win those public contests for those government jobs where
Nobody else
get
can
it,
get it, yeah.
I've heard stories where, in Sao Paulo, for example, if they, when they know that a bunch of Cearense people from here, from this state, are going to be there competing, they
Panic mode.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about this place, because both the public and the private schools overperform here, and ITA,
So
their
are they
version.
smart? There's a lot of smart people here then.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And
These
their
smart people are
version-
coming from here.
And their version of MIT, it's a school called ITA. It is their version of MIT. It is the kind of the premier math and science university here. Usually, in any given year, a minimum of about 20%, but in the normal year, as much as 50 to 60% of the students that win the places there from those public contests They all come from Sierra. Like it's crazy.
Wow, I didn't know that. This is some good information to know. Wow.
And it's a secret that I don't understand.
Smart
it.
people. There's smart people in the state. That's what.
And at this
or work harder. Just work harder for what they want.
I don't know what it is. They have some sort of
Edge on
methodology here that they're not employing in the rest of the country. And at this point, like especially at those private universities here, Farias Brito, they're called Farias Brito and Arijisa. Those are the two most famous ones. You got people from like Sao Paulo now starting to send their kids to
here.
to go to these schools. So I don't know what it is with their methodology here, but like these are some of the most educated, whether they are rich or poor, literally the most educated people in the country.
Brazil.
Wow. Yes.
Unbelievable.
So the public process of you to become a public university student, it is a standard here in Brazil, and this standard is because you have a period in January or February to try to select which public university in the whole country you're going to apply for. So here our university, it is called Federal University of Ceará, or UFC, and UFC is the second most looked university in the whole country.
Say it again.
UFC, our university, our public university here in Fortaleza, is the second public university most looked from the people in the whole country
most
here.
Research.
Yes,
most
research.
Mm-hmm.
So the people always trying to become a student from the UFC because we have really a high standard of public education, of research production, of contribution to society itself. That's another key fact that it's really nice to know. And this is just because we have here several students that are at the best universities, not only here but in the whole world. So every time that you can see a Cearense, which is the name that we call the people that are from this state, you could be in the presence of someone who is really smart, who is really intelligent, for example. But another nice fact that I was thinking about the region that we are right now doing this interview is that most of these buildings here that we have at Beira Mar, they are, I would say, a little bit old. At least, for example,
from the 80s. Maybe from the 80s.
Yeah, maybe from the 80s.
90s.
They can have 30 years old, for example. And not only here, but in these several buildings that you can find in Fortaleza from the 80s or from the 90s, you can find, for example, at least 3 bedrooms in these apartments. But you find a 4th bedroom, which is tinier, smaller than the others. And this tiny room.
Wait a minute. So this deserves a special section, because I call that the slaves' quarters. But explain that.
Okay, so this 4th room was built to the maid or to the black guy, because usually the doorman that you could find here at these buildings is a black person. Usually the lady that will clean your bedroom or clean your whole flat, your whole apartment, is a black person, which lives at least 1 hour by bus from here, from this place here in Fortaleza. She lives in Fortaleza too, but for her to come from her home to here, to these buildings, she would take at least 1 hour coming from bus. So they have this bedroom to this person because people here because I would say that we are trying to break more of this behavior here, but people, at least they had this consciousness to hire someone to clean, to maintain everything organized at your apartment, and they would separate that really tiny, and it was like 10 meters only of a floor for you to live, for you to just sleep, and then to be awake 6 in the morning, so you could do their breakfast, so you could do clean, sweep everything around, and make everything beautiful to the people that are going to hire you, you know.
Yeah,
But
so,
that's
so, so if you imagine, because all of these apartments like this, they have like a similar layout. Like they have like two wings. The main wing is like the family wing, and there will be 2 to 3 bedrooms, sometimes 4. And each bedroom will have their own bathroom, like if you could imagine that in these apartments. So some apartments will have like 4 and 5 bathrooms. It's
Wow,
crazy.
apartment.
Yeah, like these
Apartment, wow.
ones that take up the full floor is like that. And then the kitchen is what separates like the family from the person living in the slaves' quarters, you know. So there will be the kitchen, and then usually off to the side of the kitchen there will be that small room where the maid lives. And some of the families, they're starting to move away from this more. They're becoming more humanistic in the way that they see the people that work for them. But you will see some families, like if they have some expensive chocolate, you know, or some alcohol that they don't want the maid to have, you can still see some places where they have like a lock, you know, on cabinets and things like that. Yeah, you know. But as I say, like the younger people are starting to move away from that. Yeah, like you usually only see that kind of thing now with old people. Yeah. Okay.
I would say that this is a colonial heritage that we have here, because from the moment that we could have black people free of slavery, we could find themselves without a shit. I'm sorry.
No, it's no problem.
Okay. So they could be free, but they would not have anything. They would have nothing.
Yes.
So they have to start their lives from, you know, from the 0 point, for example. And this was just only, you know, at least 100 years ago. So it is really recent. It is really close to our
heart,
to our living here today, for example. So these kind of things that you're going to see here in Fortaleza, they are just because we have a really and strong presence of this colonial heritage of the time. And this shows itself not only in these buildings, but sometimes too in the behavior of these people when they treat black folks, for example.